Welcome to this episode of the Engaging Marketeer, where today I am joined by Nick Arkell, one of the web designers here at Engage Web, for a discussion on web design that I believe will help inspire people who want to be web designers, but I really suspect it's just going to delve into two grumpy old bastards complaining about web design and how things have moved on and we don't like change, and how clients come up with really, really stupid things that we don't like. So, Nick, hello, welcome.
Hello, I'm going to start by being grumpy by telling you how to pronounce my name correctly. It's Arkell.
I've not known Nick for that long. It's just been a few years.
Yeah,
so yeah, thank you for that, Nick Arkell. That's really appreciative. So Nick, tell me, why did you actually get started in web design in the first place, and how?
I was bored one day at home and thought, well, this looks exciting, and it went from there.
Well, that's a riveting story. Thank you for regaling us with that one, Nick. So, what was the first thing you ever worked on?
It was back in around 1998, I think.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, we first got the internet when it was powered by coal and steam and things like that.
I remember it well.
My mum was really annoyed because my friend Caveman from the sixth form came round our house and.
Hang on, I have to unpack that.
Yeah,
Caveman.
Caveman. He was called that because he looked like a caveman. Simple as that, really. It was school, so.
Was this like Captain Caveman or just a general caveman?
Yeah, a bit like Captain Caveman, I suppose. Yeah, but we just shortened it to Caveman because it was easier.
Yeah, of course you would. Yeah,
you wouldn't shout Captain Caveman across the playground, would you?
But unless you were going Captain Caveman. But then yeah, sorry about that.
Actually, thinking about it, he looked a bit like him. I know the actor you're referring to there.
The actor? You mean the cartoon character?
Oh, okay. We're thinking of different people.
Really?
Well, no, I know the cartoon character, but I'm thinking of that guy from the IT crowd who speaks like that.
Oh, right, yeah.
What's his name?
No.
No? Okay. Anyway, so back to the story.
Yeah.
So we're in school, and my mate Caveman, he says, have you got the internet? I said, no. What's that? Well, no, I knew what it was. I'm lying. But anyway, he comes around my house. My mum's really, really annoyed because she knows that he's about to install something that comes from the devil, basically. This thing called the internet that she probably hadn't heard of yet. So he comes in, installs FreeServe, which, of course, everybody had at that point. And within half an hour, we're on the internet, and my mum no longer had a phone to use. And then within about probably a couple of hours of having the internet, I thought, wait a second, I can do something on this. I can make stuff. And I can have my own presence, my own place on the internet, and that's where it started, really.
To get yourself out there, and what did you put of you out on the internet straight away?
I made this website where I had an animated GIF of myself, and it would just be my head doing this. And as my head moved, my eyes lit up red.
Of course.
You see, you're connecting that with my present day web design, aren't you?
You do love an animation. You do love a bit of movement.
Yeah.
So back then, we're talking like 98, 99. What did you use to actually create the animation?
Do you know, I can't actually remember what software I used to create the animation. It was probably, it would have been something very primitive at the time. I don't think it was, Adobe didn't exist. I think Macromedia might have been about.
Macromedia was around then, yeah. So it could have been Fireworks.
Do you know what? I think it was. I do remember using Fireworks in the early days. Of course, at that point, it may or may not have been a copy that I paid for.
Yeah. Obviously, all copies of software should be paid for.
Yes, they should.
But as an exploratory person first using the internet for the first time, you may have come across a version that was okay to use back then when you were too young to be prosecuted for the purposes of the tape.
In all fairness, back then they didn't have education licenses that I knew of.
No.
Obviously, I would have bought one if they existed.
Of course you would. You would have. Yeah. And of course, back then, for the people who don't know, when we did animation back then, we had to do it frame by frame. There was no cheating.
Back in the day, frame by frame, there was no way around it. No, didn't have computers to do the bits in between for you. Oh, no.
No, because I remember when I worked at a game in 2000, like you, I liked a bit of animation. I liked a bit of shameful movement, and I animated. There was a video game came out one Christmas called Sheep that we all thought would be massive. You've probably never heard of it.
Sheep? Oh, wait, was that the one where they exploded?
Oh, it definitely exploded. Oh, it definitely exploded.
Yes, it became a big series, didn't it?
Did it? It didn't do very well that first game. We were really disappointed because we thought it would be brilliant. It looked brilliant. It looked a bit like Lemmings, but rather than kill them, you had to save them. And they get like walked into combine harvesters and stuff. And
I really liked that game. I remember it.
Yeah.
It came out on lots of different consoles, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, for the Christmas branding of the website, because we used to brand the website every Christmas.
Yeah.
And I loved a bit of crap animation. I took one of the sheep graphics and I had it pop out from behind the game logo. It gets worse. And then I had Father Christmas come out with a shotgun and shoot the sheep, and the sheep exploded. And that was on loop. And that was Game's logo that Christmas. And I was thinking this morning actually about that, because I think about things that are weird. That's probably on Internet Archive. I bet if I go onto Internet Archive, and Game's URL is game.co.uk. It wasn't on that back then. They had game.uk.com because they didn't own game.co.uk.
Do you know, I remember all of this because that was when I was interested in gaming. And I would have been on the Game website at some point and probably seen your animation.
You saw my animated exploding sheep.
And I probably thought, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I'm going to have a look after this and see if it's still there. And quite frankly, I'm shamed and worried about looking because it's something I did 21 years ago.
If it's still there, I might steal it and use it in some kind of Christmas card or something.
The game logo with an exploding sheep shot by Father Christmas. Yeah,
why not?
Yeah, why not? Okay. Let's get off animation and devilry, if we may. So what was the first professional website that you built?
Wow. It would have been for a friend of mine who I was working for. I didn't actually build websites professionally until probably the mid 2000s when I came out of university. Because my education wasn't actually web design, but about a year out of uni, I got a job with my friend Jeremy near Manchester, working for his company, and I forget what the first one was. One of the biggest sites I did around that time was one for an organisation called the Manchester Based-In, I think it's Bethdin.
Manchester what in?
Well, I've probably pronounced it incorrectly, but you know,
probably that's not even a word.
Well, it's Jewish actually.
Is it?
Yeah,
well, I've just offended the whole Jewish community.
Well,
Apologies for that.
I'm sure they'll get over it. I'm sure they'll be fine.
I've offended many more people. But
they're a friendly community. But if you look on the back of Kellogg's cornflakes or tomato ketchup, the Heinz one, there's a little logo on it which says MK. And that means Manchester Kosher. And what that means is the Manchester Bethdin, this organisation, have checked that ketchup or checked those cornflakes and said, yes, this is kosher. And that's what they do. They're sort of they're a law for the Jewish community. So building their website so early in my career was quite a privilege, really, with no links to the Jewish community myself until that point in my life. So it was quite a big one to do and quite a lot of pressure because there's a lot of stuff on there. There's a list of kosher food. There's information about if you're Jewish and you follow the Jewish faith, it tells you what you need to do if you want to get divorced and things like that because it all goes through them. So yeah, that was a big site that I did back then.
So definitely not something that you can get wrong.
Oh no! I think it still exists. Actually, it's still there. Yeah.
Not the version you designed.
Quite possibly. Yeah. It's been there a few years. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because some websites do not change for decades.
But do you know what? Some people build websites to be future-proof.
Yeah, they do, and some don't. So. What over the years is the biggest change you've seen in web design?
Definitely the being able to view a website on lots of different devices. Because of course, back when we all started, we just had a computer screen, and it was mainly one or two different resolutions. So you could get away with designing a website that was just the same size and everything. Now, of course, we've got lots of different devices, phone screens and computers, TVs, and that is a big change, really, because that initially brought about more work, really, trying to make it adapt to every screen. And now, of course, we've got different types of technology which allow us to do that more easily.
Yeah, I mean, I always remember when I worked for I won't name them, because they might be listening. I worked for a graphic design agency, a print design agency, and they had a web department, and they always insisted all the print designers would do the designs for the websites, and the web designers, who myself was included, weren't really designing websites. We were just building what the print designers had designed. And this whole different resolution, different screen thing didn't really click with them at all. They just wanted it to look exactly as it should look on their monitor at the time. That's all that was important. And I remember one of them said to me, no word of a lie, when he was designing the website for the first time, how wide should it be in millimeters?
It's not surprising, is it, really? Did you go to the screen and measure it for him?
I'd go out, get a ruler out, put it on there, and said, yeah, but that wide, yeah, but that's fine. Yeah, don't worry about anybody with a bigger or smaller monitor. Just so long as it looks all right on yours, that's all that really matters. And that's always infuriated me when print designers design websites.
Yeah, it's they're entirely different worlds, aren't they? Print design, screen design, they should not mix, but of course they do, because graphic designers, in all fairness, they have a specialised skill in making things look nice, and websites also need to look nice and serve a purpose with branding and things like that. So I get why some people try to cross over with it, but not a great idea.
Yeah, and then it goes the other way then as well. You get IT companies that design websites.
Yeah, I've had this before where, you've had a developer, someone who's extremely skilled in making things happen technically. It's a little bit like an engineer, someone who designs engines, which, they do look nice when you open the bonnet of a car. I've moved on to cars already.
And it was only a matter of time. I'm shocked, to be honest, it's taken so long.
Yeah. Of course, an engine, it's mainly about the way it works, the engineering of it. If you've got someone who designs engines and the way they work, and someone who makes them efficient and powerful to design the outside aesthetic of a car, it might not work. And it's the same with web development, really, isn't it? Web design. Yeah.
When we started talking about this, something was going through my mind that, again, I was thinking of recently that really pissed me off. And I wanted to go through this, the stupid things that clients say and ask for. But it's related.
We've all had that.
Yeah, but it's related to screen sizes in particular. Because I remember there was a client of Engage Web's. Again, I won't name them because they might be listening. I'm so tempted to have just named them there. We designed a website for them, and they're the one client that they were really lovely in person, but there was one issue when they actually swore at our account manager over the phone, and I just can't imagine them doing that because they were so lovely in person. But they swore at him over the phone over this. We designed a website for them, for their business, and it was pink. Okay, fine. That's what they wanted. It wasn't really suitable for their target audience.
It's brave.
It's a bold choice. It's a bold choice. Their target audience wasn't women. It was men and women, but it was predominantly a female industry, but there was men as well. But they went with pink. But that's not the issue. The issue was we designed it, and this was back in about 2015, I think, to be, might even be earlier, it might be 2014, 2013, to be mobile responsive. Because obviously it needed to work on a smartphone. And when they looked at the design, they looked at it on the desktop and then they checked it on their phone and they said, why does it look different on the phone? I said, well, it's the mobile version of the website. It resizes so that it fits well on the phone so that you can use it. They went, no, we don't want that. We want it to look exactly the same on the phone as it does on the desktop. So what do you mean? You want the desktop version to be sort of mobile? No. We want it to look exactly like that on the phone, so we've got to pinch and zoom in to see it. Oh, so you want us to deliberately make it so it doesn't work on a mobile? And they weren't having it. It had to look exactly the same. So we had to basically take out all of the functionality to make it mobile friendly, so that it essentially we had to build it crap. So
and you actually did it that way?
Yeah, that's what we had. They wanted it. They insisted it. They would not have it any other way.
They do say the customer's always right, don't they?
The customer's always right, unless they're monumentally wrong. And I've got other examples like that, but that just sticks in my mind that they were so, no, we want it to look like this.
You see, the mistake they made there was they didn't continue that chain of the customer being right. They didn't think, well, actually, what does their customer think? And their customer might look at it and think, well, actually, that's crap. And, well, they're right because it's their customer. Where'd you stop that chain?
Do you know, that is a really good point. That is a really good point, because people, when they have websites designed for them, very often think the website's for them.
Oh, no.
It's not.
No, it's not. It's for their customer.
It's for their customer, exactly. So, yeah, important point for people. When you have a website designed for you, it's not for you, it's for your target audience. So what you want and what you like isn't necessarily relevant. It's what your target market is looking for.
No, you're not a musical artist. You're not writing songs for yourself that people happen to like. Well, it's true, isn't it? Artists are different to business, because artists, they will do something which is something that represents them, whether it's visually or in music, and then if people like it, great, they buy it. If they don't, well, they can do one.
Whereas Simon Cowell's Pop Factory is making music for people rather than for the artist.
Yeah, and you see, that's why I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're dangerously getting into. For anyone who wants to know, Nick is also a DJ.
Yeah, I'm a DJ. So by trade, when I've done certain gigs, I professionally, I have to like ABBA. We won't go any further with that one.
Yeah. Play a bit of ABBA, come on.
No,
we won't be doing that. So what things have you heard, and please don't mention names, what things have you heard from clients that you think, oh my God, no?
Oh, wow. Now, do you know what, Darren? That's an excellent question.
Thank you.
You should definitely have asked me that question.
I don't know where you're going with this.
I don't know where I'm going with it. I'm trying to stall while I think of a client who's asked me something silly.
Oh, right, I see. You're delaying for time because you don't...
Yeah. I'm going through clients now thinking...
What can you give out?
What? God, I really have drawn a blank with that one. I'm thinking through different clients I've had over the years. Do you know, I think sometimes, especially if you're doing something creative, like a logo, for instance, maybe not someone specific here, or maybe I am thinking of someone specific, where you've designed a logo, and the whole point of a logo should be that it's subtle. There are bits in there that you don't initially notice. Think of the LG logo, for instance. I did not know for years and years and years that actually when you look at it, it's an L and a G, but also it's a smiling face. Because it's supposed to, it's a company who bring happiness to people, apparently, you know. And I didn't know that for years.
Yeah. And the Amazon logo has got A to Z with the arrow.
Exactly, yeah.
The Toblerone logo's got a bear hidden in it, that sort of thing.
Yeah, stuff like that. And these are things that sometimes you don't find out for a long time. They're little snippets, little facts that you find out the same way you find out the answers to quiz questions. Years after you were asked that question at the pub quiz and you could have won. And
there's a story there.
Yeah. And I've had clients want to make everything obvious in design, and that's not the way to do it. You need to have people guessing and investigating and thinking. Yeah.
A logo needs to be simple. It needs to be impactful, it needs to be recognizable and something that you can remember. And I see a lot of logos that aren't. Even stuff done by, I'm going to use air quotes for those listening, professional designers. And rather than do an actual logo, they'll do what is effectively an illustration. And it just doesn't work. The number of people that come to us for websites and have logos like that, and you just know no matter what you do with the website, it's still going to have that logo on it, which just isn't going to work. And it's very often them, and I've done a podcast on this, it's very often those people who say, I like the design you've done, Nick, but could you make the logo bigger?
Classic question, make the logo bigger. But then that's going back to it all being about them, isn't it? They're not focusing on the message that they want to give to the customer on the front page. The logo is part of the branding and it's important, but it's something that should be sitting there almost in the background when they're trying to convey a certain message via the front page of their website. What should be prominent is what they're trying to sell. Yeah. And how they're going to help someone. Yeah. Not what their logo looks like. But the other thing that I think, another stupid thing that a customer would have previously asked for, not so much these days, but in the past, is music playing and coming on automatically.
Really? You've been asked for that?
I'm pretty sure it's happened at some point in my lifetime of making websites where it's not just music, it's video as well. They want something to... video, not so much because, of course, you can run video automatically and it run in the background and it's not a problem, but it's when it's got sound and they want that to come on. And you think... the last thing you want when you go on a website, especially if you're in the office and you shouldn't actually be on that website because you should be working, the last thing you want is music or sound blowing out the minute you open that front page.
Yeah, to announce to the whole office that you're...
Yeah, I'm looking at a closed website.
You're on Trance DJ UK. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Nick, what are you doing? Oh, it's research.
Yeah. I've got an example of something that a client said that was monumentally stupid. This is always a case when you have a client where there's two decision makers. We had a client once, and it was in the beauty industry, and it was a husband and wife team, and he wasn't actually doing anything within the business, but he was paying the bill, so he needed to have his input. And it was the wife made the decision on the website. We did the design. Everything was going okay until the husband came in and, without consulting her, and said, no, I need you to change all that. I want the background to be dark. I want a dark background, but I want the text to stay black.
I've had this.
You've had this?
I've had this with... this is definitely a problem when you have a company which is family-run. And usually family-run means husband and wife.
Yeah.
There might be a child involved if they've got a grown-up child. But usually it's husband and wife primarily, and you'll meet with them initially, and quite often I'll know from the start, from that first meeting, they'll already be disagreeing during that meeting and thinking, here we go. And then you get to the point where even when you've just done that first design for a website, they'll look at it separately and they'll come back to you separately, and you're thinking, how is that company existing when they're sending you feedback separately? The feedback's... there's not a problem with that feedback being different, but it's when it's so disconnected. This should be something that's happening together.
Yeah, when it's in complete opposite to what the other one is saying. That's when there's an issue. Yeah, so this guy insisted on it being a dark background with black text. We explained that that's not actually going to work. But he was adamant that's what he wanted, so that's what we did, and we sent that back to him. He went, yeah, that's what I wanted, and the wife went, what have you done? I can't read it. Like, we know. I think you need to speak to your husband. And it was just absolute chaos, because you're making more amends than you need to do on a website, because you know it's not going to work, because they're just not communicating with each other.
I've got to admit, the devil in me does kind of want that to happen now and again. It makes, it makes things a little more interesting, a little more challenging for me, but also gives me a little light entertainment when they do fall out over it. Nothing like watching another couple argue, is there? It makes you feel better about your own life.
That's true. Yeah. It's kind of like, it's like watching a car crash. You shouldn't, but you're like, go on.
You're thinking, I'm glad it's not me. I hope they're all right, but...
Yeah, they'll get through this, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I'm not in that discussion, so let's just see where it goes.
Indeed.
Yeah, okay. So out of all the websites that you've designed over the years, what's the one that you think, I love that one?
Ooh.
And why? And why?
Do you know, some of the ones that I've really liked are quite recent sites I've designed for Engage Web, actually, which is a good thing, I suppose. It's probably the correct answer, right? Yeah.
Well, I'm not prompting you, but no.
No, it is a genuine answer. No one's paid me extra to say that, although donations are welcome after we finish this.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But what I quite like is the illustration-based websites that I've built recently. I've done a couple now where I've used illustration to take the edge away from business, really, because quite often photography, if it's photography of the people, especially if it's a family business like we were just talking about, yes, photography can give that impression of being friendly and welcoming and not as cold as business can make out to be sometimes. But illustration, I think you can't fail in giving that impression of being approachable and a little... Not small as a company, but definitely more friendly than maybe a big corporation would be to approach. And the other thing I can do with illustration, of course, is going back to my first ever project. I can animate it.
Yes.
And that's something I really enjoy doing, as we've discussed. And yeah, so they're some of my favourite projects, being able to use illustration. And quite often it's not even my own illustration. It could be something out of the box that I've adapted and combined with another illustration. So yeah, definitely they're my favourite recent projects.
Yeah, because I think there's no harm in naming people here. I think the website you did recently, the adaptive accountancy website, with the mountain and the flag flying on the top, I think that's probably the best website we've done.
Oh, really?
I genuinely, I'm not just saying that to make you feel. I genuinely think that's so. Gab, gauntlet thrown down, accept the challenge. I think that's the best website we've done. Yeah, I was quite shocked when I saw how cool that was. Quite frankly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, just to explain the whole concept behind that site, with the mountain, the whole point of it was that when people have accountancy needs, I mean, someone who's really not interested in finances at all, like myself, and pretty bad with them, high mortgage brokers, mortgage providers. I am responsible, just to let you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, you want something like accounts done if you're focusing on your business, but it can be an uphill struggle. And it was
nice. See what you did there.
You see, and it was that phrase I was focusing on. I was thinking, yeah, you're struggling uphill. Let's literally put a mountain on the site which people are climbing, and adaptive accountancy are helping you get to the top of that mountain. And that theme features throughout the whole front page, really. It starts with that mountain. You think, well, look at the size of that mountain. I'm not going to get to the top of that. And then there's another illustration of someone helping a person up the mountain. And the point is, you get to the top of the mountain, you've got the adaptive accountancy flag waving because they've helped you get up there.
Yeah, and there's a lot of websites that would do something similar with a mountain, because it is about scaling the summit and being the best and getting to the top of your challenge, that would have used a photograph and would have used one of those cheesy pictures of somebody on top of a mountain waving their hands up and down, which would have been a picture, because that's quite common.
No doubt it would have been someone in a suit, dressed in an entirely inappropriate attire for climbing a mountain. Yeah,
and there's quite a well-used photograph that does this on social media of a guy in a suit on top of a mountain, but he's got a red cape. It's on pixabay.com. If any aspiring web designers want to put a picture of a guy in a suit on a mountain with a red cape, that's the place to go for it. But you do see that on a lot of websites. And in fact, photographs, actually, there's a lot of pictures that you see when you're in web design that you see crop up on websites again and again and again. And you go, I know where they've got that from. And I know where they've got that from. There's one of a blonde girl in a headset.
Yeah.
Looks just like us now, I imagine. Blonde girl in a headset turning to the side and smiling.
I know the image you mean.
Exactly, yeah.
That does feature on a lot of websites. I mean, she's, to be fair, she's a pretty lady, and I can see why a lot of people would look at that picture and pick it, but they're probably looking at it and picking it because they find her attractive rather than it being the most appropriate picture.
Yeah. And the fact that she's everywhere means that your website has nothing unique about it.
Yeah, I do tend to see images now and again on websites and think, yep, I've seen that before. And I'm probably seeing it as a picture I actually recognise, and I could probably tell you where they got it from, like Pixabay or wherever. Whereas maybe your average visitor to a website might not see the image and think, I know that image, I know where that's from. But it certainly will make them think of the other company they've been to, and give out the wrong message.
Yeah, it'll go in the back of their mind, particularly if they've had a bad experience. If they've been on an insurance company that's not paid out on them and the image was on there, and then they go to your website, which is like an accountant or a telemarketing company, and they go, I don't like them, and I don't know why.
Yeah, they're connecting experiences, aren't they, then, through one image?
Yeah, even though you don't know why, but it's in the back of the mind. So that's a tip for web designers there. If you're picking imagery for a website, be very selective. Don't go picking images that everybody else has, because you're just going to associate the website with something else, which could be a bad experience.
Well, something that Gab does, which I've never done myself before, really, but I thought was quite clever of him, is he tends to take some of the stock images and he crops them a bit and takes bits out of them, rather than just using the whole image, he'll use a bit of one. Because, of course, when you download these images, you can get them in massive resolution. So you can easily chop them down and still have a decent quality image.
Yeah.
I think that's something you can do just to avoid looking like another website. Yeah.
Okay. So we've talked about sort of that one thing web designers can do is about imagery. What advice would you have to people who are looking to get into the industry, or maybe they already are, and how they can do better websites?
Advice generally, or specifically on images?
Oh, generally, yeah. Let's not go too far into images because.
I'd say that don't try to look like everything else on the web, because I think this is a habit which every web developer and a designer especially can get into. A client will come to you and say, I want a website, and the temptation is to go online and type in, let's say you're building a website for a builder, and you'll go into Google Images and type in builder websites. Let's have a look at what other people do. And the danger you've got there when you do that is it'll come up with a load of template websites, where you got all these templates that have been designed by someone for builder websites. And the trouble is, if you do that, you'll end up designing a site which looks like those templates.
Yeah.
And those templates have been used by people, because that's the idea of these template designs. People download them and they use them, and you end up building a website which looks like one of them, and you think, well, the client could have just used one of those templates when actually they've come to you because they want something unique, they want something different, they want something bespoke. So that's one thing to try and avoid. But at the same time, I do try to look at the current trends. There is such a thing as trends. I mean, as you can see by looking at me, I don't follow the trends.
I was going to say you're very trendy.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. I think what it is.
Well, that depends when this was recorded. If this interview was recorded in 2003, Nick is very trendy.
Do you know, I've had this since my 20s. Can you tell?
Yes. Okay.
Oh, by the way, we didn't color coordinate, did we? We didn't mean to, but it somehow happened almost.
It's just yeah. It was just the designer's instinct.
Possibly.
Yeah.
With trends, there are trends in design. So you can go on and look at what's the trend for 2022 or 2023, whatever year you're watching this, and see what people are saying. But that is subjective, of course, because those trends, who are they written by?
Yeah, and trends do date a website.
Yes.
They can really date a website, because I'll go back to when I was at Game back in 2001, 2002. There was a big trend across the internet for beveling buttons. Beveling, yeah.
Yes.
Beveling. Why was that ever a thing? But all buttons on all websites were beveled.
Yeah.
It's just how they did it. So anything with a beveled button, now I can go, well, that website's 20 years old. Or the web designer is very nostalgic. But yeah, if you follow trends, like with fashion, it's going to fade, and you're going to get stuck in the past.
The beveling thing, I think that came from, I mean, if you look at design generally, look at cars. We're back there again.
We're back with cars, yeah.
We're back with cars. Look at cars in the 90s. They were all beveled, weren't they? Everything was all curved off. They didn't need to curve it off, but they did.
Okay, yeah.
You look at the Fords of the 90s, they're all curvy. And then suddenly there was this switch in the early 2000s with cars like the Ford Focus, where everything started becoming angular and straight. And, you know, the same with all these German cars. Everything started becoming cleaner in design. And it's happened in design generally. The trends are not just in screen design. They're in product design too. You look at phones as well. Look at the iPhone, where it started off round. It's now a very angular, straight, flat device. So I think trends do work when things are matching up like that, because you want someone to pick up a product and the approach to the design of it to match up with maybe what they're looking at on a screen as well in a website.
That's a good point with phones, actually, yeah, because you can generally tell what year a phone was from roughly by its size.
Yeah.
Because when they first came out in like the late 80s, they were the size of small hatchback cars.
Yeah, you had to hold it with both hands.
And then when I got my first phone, which was quite late because I was quite late to technology. I think it was 98, 99.
Yeah, me too, actually, around that time.
It was about like 5 inches long. It was absolutely tiny little Sagum phone. I thought it was easy to lose.
Oh, Sagum.
A Sagum.
Wow.
I know, yeah. That was my first phone. Sagum.
They were the budget brand of the era, weren't they? Really?
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
So I had a Motorola, which was probably mid-range, wasn't it?
Motorola, well, that's from the Matrix, wasn't it? The whole...
Oh, of course, yeah.
That was the flick phone.
My Motorola was about that size, had a little aerial coming out the top, naturally.
Yeah, that's the one everybody wanted because of the Matrix.
Oh, really? I didn't even realise at the time.
Yeah, you were one of the cool kids.
I've probably still got it somewhere because I'm a hoarder.
Oh, well, yeah. I think I've got my Sagum as well, actually.
It's worth a few quid, maybe.
Maybe. But as phones have gone on, as years gone on, they just got bigger and bigger again. So they've started huge, went tiny, and then they went big again. And that's just the trend for them.
Although you look at what Apple have been doing, I do believe, I might be mistaken, but I think, they've got an iPhone now, which is specifically a small version of the iPhone.
Yeah,
I think so. Or maybe I misread it, but yeah, I think they're...
Maybe it was just very far away.
Quite possibly, yeah. I was probably looking from a distance,
Yeah. Okay, well, what I wanted to mention, obviously I don't want to get your blood up too much on this. The thing that most web designers hate is the online builder platforms.
Yeah, there are several.
Like Wix and Ionos.
There's two levels of that. Of course, yeah, you've got Wix, you've got Ionos, you've got the full websites where you can go in to build a website, but it does get to the level where you've got the builders within a system like WordPress, for instance. You've got builders within that.
Oh, yes.
And yeah, I hate them all equally, really. But yeah, the problem with these things is there's no such thing as a free lunch, right? And the way they market it, just like a lot of products these days, you get something for nothing initially, but then they get you to the point where you sort of, you're balls deep in the website. You're a few months in, you got your website looking as you want it, but then you think, well, I want it to do this. And they say, well, yeah, if you want to do that, that's going to cost you an extra £20 a day. So, that might be an exaggeration, by the way. But, yeah, then you think, oh, well, actually, I can't really afford that. Whereas if I'd gone with the original option of paying a certain amount of money per month, which wasn't really that much money originally, I could do what I want to do now, and I could still do it within what I'm already paying. So yeah, that's the problem with them financially. But from a web developer's point of view, yeah, I mean these sites. I had one. I built a site for a friend actually for this car thing, and
Now we're back to cars.
Yeah, it was Cars and Coffee Cheshire. I'm going to name and shame. And it was my friend Dave who he originally founded Cars and Coffee Cheshire with another person in Chester, and he built this website. In all fairness, Dave is not a technical person. He doesn't build websites for a living. He doesn't pretend to. And he tried to build this website with Wix, and it was honestly one of the worst things I've ever seen. It really was, and. Wix and people like that, they will advertise and say, yeah, anybody can use it, but they really can't. You really can screw it up badly. And what he created was probably worse than something that was made with Microsoft Front Page back in the day.
Oh, was a blast from the past.
Exactly. And I mean, Microsoft Front Page is actually a swear word, 2 swear words within the web development world. We don't like it, never have done, but people did use it back in the day, and it created some absolute
abominations.
Yeah, and you can do the same with Wix.
You can, yes, yeah.
And then the developer will come along, look at it, and think, the client will often say, "Well, I just want that transferring. I want you to make that into a WordPress website." And I'm thinking, No, you can't. We need to start again from scratch. Yeah. It's the only way.
Yeah, here's some lighter fuel. Here's a match.
Yeah, burn it.
That'll sort your website out, and then let's begin again. Because of course you can't export a Wix website. The design isn't yours; it's theirs. You can't do anything with it.
No, it's all on their platform. I'm trying to think of an analogy. I like analogies.
It's like decorating a rented house.
Yes.
And then go in, I'm moving to a new house that I've just bought. I want to take all the decoration with me. Oh, I can't because it's in the house.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
No.
And decorated a renting house badly, but still wanted to take it with you.
Yeah, that's
this wood chip wallpaper and Artex ceiling I've got. I want to take that with me.
Yeah.
Well, you can't and you shouldn't because it's shit.
I want that avocado bathroom. I want it in my new house.
My parents used to have one of them.
I like them.
Did you?
Yeah, I've been looking at houses recently, and I tell you what, when I see a house that's got an avocado bathroom or anything which looks like it's from maybe the 70s or 80s, I'm thinking, I quite like that. I would keep it. A lot of people come in and they make everything whitewash. You think, no.
And your good lady wife, is she okay with this?
No, she's into her antiques. Hence she's with me.
And she's with you. You took that before I took it.
And yeah, she likes these things which look. I think the word's retro for the cool kids. Anything that looks old is retro.
Retro.
And yeah, I quite like a bathroom or a kitchen which almost looks like, when you go to those museums where you can explore what things looked like back in the old days.
Like a Bakelite phone.
Yeah, exactly. I want a house to look like that. I want people to come in and think, ooh, I remember that.
This is like being in a Sherlock Holmes episode.
But just to make it clear, I don't build websites to be like that.
No. That's an important distinction, yeah. When it comes to websites, you are very much modern, which brings me on, actually, to my final point, because we're almost out of time now.
Oh, are we?
We are, yes. Which is about modern web design and the future. Web design. Where do you see things going, and how is it going to change?
Oh, wow, God.
And it's a bit of an open question.
It is a big question. Where do I see things going? Well, I mean, there was a point where we thought, it's all going into apps, and apps are still a thing. You still don't download the app, don't you? But I think with apps, they're only really necessary and important and useful for things where it gets complicated. Where it's a retailer, Amazon, for instance. Having an app is useful because it serves a specific purpose. There's a lot to it. There's a lot of functionality in there, but. No, generally with websites, with what I'd call a brochure website, where it's just representing a company, I don't think it needs to go down the app route. So I don't think that's the way things will go. Just thinking, maybe things will become a little more interactive, a little more animated. Maybe
you'd hope.
Yeah,
you're hoping it's going to go animated.
Yeah. I think things like animation, we've had to hold back over the years with things like video, animation, any kind of movement because of bandwidth, technology. Yeah. Now we've got. I think the fact that people are getting faster and faster internet, even at home, generally, even on their phones, you can walk around with what we're up to. What are we up to now? 5G? Is it 5G? Yeah. It means that we're not limited really by the amount of. We are to a certain extent limited by the amount of data that people are using, especially on a mobile device. But I think the amount of bandwidth being used on a website, for instance, that's not such an issue. So we can have things like video running, and animation and things like that.
But as our SEO nerds will tell you, speed is still of the essence. It's still very, very important that a website is fast. But yes, there's things that we can do now that we couldn't even dream of doing back in the 90s.
No.
Because it just would never have loaded. It would never have loaded.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, the thing with the trick with SEO is giving away a secret here, but the trick with SEO is making sure that what Google sees loads quickly, but what the human eye sees is a different thing. So you can have maybe a video or an animation or something, and it doesn't necessarily have to load for Google's testing purposes, but it will be there for the customer to see, the potential customer.
Yeah, it's important because obviously you've touched on that. It's important that people don't get the wrong idea and that you load content for Google and not for the customer. Because if you're showing content for Google and not the customer, then that's black hat SEO and isn't something that you want to do.
Don't be using that.
But in terms of visual, what you've just said, yeah, that's absolutely fine. I've seen examples with logos, for example, which show a text-based version for Google, but an image version for the customer. It's the same content. If the actual content is the same, then that's absolutely fine. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I mean, just touching on what Darren said about hiding stuff for the customer. There was the old trick back in the day where you could have a white background and white text on it.
Classic.
So the text is there for Google because, Google's a computer. It can read the text because it's there in the code, but the customer can't see it because it's white text and a white background. Don't do it.
No, don't do that. Don't do
it.
Right, excellent. I've really enjoyed this. I think it's like two grumpy old bastards complaining about the internet.
I don't think we've complained enough.
Well, we didn't even mention Flash.
Oh, well, looks like we need to have another chat, doesn't it?
It doesn't have another Flash, because Flash was Macromedia Flash, then Adobe Flash was possibly the worst thing to happen to web design in like 20 years. It wasn't even web design, yet people were using it as web design. But we won't go into that now. We'll go into that another time, because that is a big grumble.
Flash was like when they put...
We're going into it now, people. We're going into it now. Go on, Nick.
They put plastic covers on engines in cars, and you couldn't get to the components anymore and fix it.
And we're back to cars.
There we go. That's how you explain it.
Yeah, and Google couldn't see it. It was an absolute disaster. But luckily, Flash is dead now.
It was disgusting. Although the company who made it, they still exist, so there's always a danger they might think, we should do that again.
What, was it Macromedia originally? Or did they buy it from someone else?
Macromedia, and then Adobe bought Macromedia, and Adobe still exists, obviously.
Oh, right,
so there's always that danger that Adobe one day
could resurrect it.
We're a bit bored, let's make something that people hate again.
Right. Thank you very much, Nick. It's been a pleasure complaining about stuff with you. And we'll thank everybody listening. Thank you very much for listening. And I will catch you all on the next podcast of the Engaging Marketeer.